Thank you everyone for joining us at the Unboxing AI stage at CARPL's booth. All hyped up for the RSNA Day 1. So we have Nikhil from FluteSpace, he's the CEO. We have Jeff, who had to fill in last minute from RadAI, and we have Allison from Spark Radiology. I'll try to moderate the session because our moderator was not able to make it because his flight got cancelled. I'll try to be as as direct as I can, and hopefully we'll have a good conversation and good discussion on the points. So yeah, we'll start with the introduction of the panelists.
Thanks for the opportunity, Nikhil. I'm the CEO of FluteSpace. Been doing this for more than 2 years. Love radiology as a space, and been working with some of the top radiologists around the world to be able to build a generative AI radiology reporting platform, not just in the US, but also being able to service other parts in the world. I have a background in AI. There is a small company called as Google, you might have heard about. Worked there for 13 years, was leading a team of data scientists and AI engineers for the entire Americas region. I absolutely love that space, and I feel that some of those learnings I can translate it to radiology world.
I'm Jeff, co-founder, CPO of RadAI. Background as a radiologist, started really young, went to college at 13, med school at 16, became the youngest radiologist on record in the US. So I practiced as a radiologist for about 10 years, doing overnight ER radiology, fellowship trained in musculoskeletal. And then we started RadAI 7.5 years ago, really focused on radiology workflow. How do we save radiologists time, reduce fatigue and burnout? And so our first solution, Impressions, is now in use by about 2/3 of all US health systems, 9 of the 10 largest radiology groups. And then over time, we've built out more solutions. Our latest one is a reporting platform. Using generative AI, how do we save radiologists more time? And that's gradually been expanding.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Allison, co-founder and CEO of Spark Radiology. Prior to this, I worked for GE Healthcare, and through that work, got to work really closely with radiologists and see that the reporting challenges that are faced today are only getting worse, and that there needed to be a stronger set of solutions in this space. As of right now, we've commercially deployed our solutions in Asia. It was a faster path to clinical validation and being able to help us truly iterate our solution quickly, and are excited now about being able to enter the US market early in the new year.
Thank you so much, guys. That was really interesting. So we'll get this panel discussion started. So radiology reporting, that's a very, that's a very broad term right now. But as you all know, that from free text dictation towards structured reporting and automated and AI-assisted workflows, the adoption is really catching up. So if I were to ask in one word or one sentence, if you like, what is the single biggest gap AI reporting must solve today?
So AI reporting really needs to go to the next level, not just solving faster reporting output, but being able to be personalized to help improve the adoption by radiologists and truly get their voice across in the radiology reports as well.
Thank you. Mainly to optimize specifically for radiology workflow, right? Every radiologist has different workflows, and how do you specifically design it so that each of the existing workflows still works and makes it a lot easier, fewer steps than what they currently do.
I think a roll of a dice, if I were to call that, which is a ChatGPT approach, is like, I'll roll a dice and then see if it's a 6 or a 1. A radiologist cannot afford to do that because every second is important to them. So don't think about a generic LLM or agentic approach, but rather truly personalized and something that reflects your historical data.
So, all right, so let's dive deep into the components, as in which component of reporting is benefiting most from the AI today? Structure, is it consistency, or is it speed?
I think kind of like Nikhil was alluding to, one of the most critical aspects is consistency. We need to have more robust solutions to ensure that every report that's done really is done to a higher level of quality while being able to be done in a much faster way within the workflow.
Yeah, I think for radiologists, we tend to care most about how do we reduce the amount of manual effort, right? So reduce the fatigue and burnout of radiologists while also improving speed, of course. And accuracy is always helpful for health systems, but it's not really as doesn't drive as much revenue, of course, for radiology practices or so on.
I would say speed, productivity, because the role of a radiologist. I'll give you an analogy. We spoke with a lot of radiologists around the world. Everyone kept coming back to the world of early 1990s and 2000. They said that world was much better for me because I had a human sitting right next to me who would be a typist and taking my notes, and all I have to do is look at the image and just do a free-flowing dictation, and that person will take care of things. I was much faster then. But now you have these legacy reporting platforms which took radiologists backwards. So a radiologist not only has to do a job of a radiologist, but of a typist as well, a very expensive typist, mind you. So AI can improve the productivity of the radiologist by bringing that typist back to them in a form of an AI.
That's a very interesting viewpoint. Just speaking on to that, your last point, Nikhil, do you really think the reporting tools truly reduce the turnaround time, or they just reorganize the effort?
I think they definitely do reduce the turnaround time. Before, I think, like was being mentioned, we used to have to split effort between looking at images and working on the report. And I think these types of technologies now enable that to be at the same time. Now you can free flow, speak openly about the findings of a case, stay very focused on the diagnosis process, and the entire documentation should be automated. And at that point, a draft gets created, and there's just a very simple review process to then be able to sign it off and move on to the next case. So absolutely saving time and improving efficiency.
Thank you. Yeah, even our first product, Impressions, which we rolled out back in 2018, has already been shown to save radiologists about an hour per 9-hour shift, reduce the number of words they say about a third, and that actually reduces the overall turnaround time significantly as well. So the more generative AI you put into reporting, the more time you can save, the more manual steps you can automate to help reduce the fatigue and burnout of radiologists.
I would agree. I think we have reduced number of clicks with the Gen AI-based reporting, but we've added one more element in the workflow, which is validation of the output of Gen AI, which is an additional step which a radiologist never had to do before. How do you build a system which is trustworthy, that a radiologist doesn't have to, after I generate the report, doesn't have to look through each element and say that, oh, you know what, you got this right. There should be a trust factor, which wasn't the case before, because what I was dictating was what I was getting out. So I never had to validate my own report. But now they have to do the role of an auditor as well. But for the most part, I think it has reduced the number of clicks and the time.
Getting into the platform value, right? I mean, we have talked about integrations, we have talked about reducing the turnaround time, but as a platform, as an integration, as part of the workflow of the radiologist and not an additional service, what's the hardest part of integrating AI reporting into PACS? I mean, what's the major obstacle that you guys face integrating into the PACS? I'll give you a couple of options you can select and speak. Is it technical or is it workflow related?
I think what's interesting, the technical challenge of integration is really straightforward. It's very possible to do it. But what we've come to learn is that there are so many different types of integrations that are needed because there's so many different solutions out there that it's a matter of being able to effectively integrate into every single different type of workflow. So being able to have a strong solution that can plug into any different type has been an area of focus for us because it has to be able to be within a workflow to be truly effective.
Yeah, RadAI, we've been relatively lucky in we have a pretty broad scope across the industry for different radiology practices, health systems. So we're already integrated with almost all the different PACS providers out there. Now, there are always more advanced integrations that people request. And so for each new customer, there's always going to be more specific advanced integrations like automated insertion of measurements or deep linking or so on and so forth. So it will vary by customer, but we make sure that we integrate directly into PACS or immediately.
Yeah, I think the integrations and how do you take the organization through that change management. mind you, most of these hospitals and radiology practices, they are short on IT resources. How do you put your product, your solution on the top of their priority and still being able to manage that integration piece is a critical one. And I think if it's not integrated, we have hardly seen adoption of these solutions because otherwise you'll have to copy paste stuff from outside and put that, which is one more click, by the way. Radiologists wouldn't want that.
Can we also touch upon customizations? I mean, the reporting might vary from institute to institute, and how do you accompany the customizations that, for example, a large teleradiology chain in US would need as compared to someone back in the EU, right? How do you fit the customizations in your reporting?
Yeah, that's been one of the most critical aspects that we learned early on. A one-size-fits-all approach is definitely not the way to go in this way. So we were able to build out the solution to be able to be more personalized in a couple different domains. One of them is around templates. That also brings in people's specific wording and structure. Even just being able to have preferences in the reporting process. They have different ways of wanting to place the findings or different ways to describe things. All of these aspects now make it more streamlined so that when they get started, there isn't a lot of time spent in trying to recreate their workflow. Ideally, with this personalization, they're able to start much quicker because they're able to just pick a few options and it match what they are used to reporting in today.
Yeah, now our customer base is primarily in the US, Canada, and now into Australia and so on. And so the reporting workflows, they all tend to be in kind of a specific group of workflows. So we've customized to exactly those workflows, right? So whether it's freeform dictation, whether it's macro-heavy workflow, whether it's nested templates and pick lists and so on and so forth, every different workflow we want to make sure that we already support, right? So we automatically import all the existing templates, whether from PowerScribe or Fluency, and then so that there's no difficulty in transition and migration. So it's made it relatively easy for a lot of our customers to kind of switch over, right? Now, when you move into Europe and so on, there's very different structured workflows that are out there and that you have to build for as well.
Yeah, I think the personalization is very important for radiologists because it's not just about the template, it's about what they're comfortable with in terms of the structure of the report and also how their referring physician would like to them to report some of those conclusions so that they can make the right decisions. A lot of that is inspired by that. So that's why I was talking about the roll the dice approach is not going to work. It has to be predictable, it has to be consistent, it has to match the way I want it to be. So personalization is very important, whether you think about templates or conclusions or any other workflow part of things.
Right. I think we've established how important it is and also the benefits. We also want to touch upon the fact that since it is so deeply integrated with the PACS, how do you see the regulatory challenges for a solution in the reporting space being used?
I mean, it's essential. I think especially when you look at the regulation, it's really around data privacy and security. That's the must-have set of standards that needs to be met, as well as HIPAA compliance and other aspects like this. But I think fortunately it's an understood aspect in the healthcare space. If you're a healthcare technology company looking to enter here, you know that that's the bar that needs to be met to ensure that you're providing a robust solution.
And luckily, it's still not considered a medical device in the US, right? Whereas PACS have advanced visualization elements that are considered medical devices. And so there's been some distinction between the ability to roll out a reporting platform compared to a PACS. So that will change over time, and also for certain countries like the UK and so on, they have different certification processes for NHS, so it can be more complex.
Yeah, regulation is very important in any space, whether it's cybersecurity or radiology, healthcare, anywhere. It's not just more from an audit point of view, it's also a vendor or a partner like FluteSpace or anyone like that. They should not be trying to meet the standards, but trying to push the envelope to be able to create their own standards in terms of security, compliances. And we tend to focus a lot on that, and working along with our PACS providers, we have been able to create some of the best practices in terms of cybersecurity and integrations.
Right, absolutely. And as you mentioned, patient data, that's the big question mark. Also, if you're able to convince a prospective buyer or a hospital that these are the templates for ensuring that the success of AI reporting has been demonstrated, what would be the I would say the check marks or the parameters that you would suggest? Will it be the speed or error reduction or just the standardization, because there are so many reports that there are, and then the standardization might help them sort of navigate through some challenges. So if I am a hospital, I'm a hospital provider and I want to understand the success of this AI solution, reporting solution, what would be the check marks for me?
Yeah, I think the thing that we hear the most is that there's still several staffing challenges. So our solution has to be able to save them significant time to be able to overcome that particular challenge. And again, that's a global one. So that's the entry level. I think now it's interesting that we're getting into the next level of conversation, right? So speed is now table stakes. And now you're getting into improvement in accuracy or consistency in the solution as well to ensure that now the solution is providing more capabilities.
Thank you. Yeah, the main table stakes are, of course, it just needs to support all the existing workflows. It needs to be as seamless as possible in terms of deployment, in terms of daily usage, just perform well as a reporting platform, dictation, so on and so forth. And then the generative AI features can be added on top, right? Not everybody's going to use a generative AI workflow. We have a number of different workflows for generative AI. And you will gradually get radiologists switching over. Maybe 15% of radiologists might use this workflow and that workflow, but they need to make sure that it works well first, right? And like our first solution, we showed that you reduce the overall error rate in a report by 64%. And so we can always show increased accuracy and so on, but it doesn't matter as much unless we can also show that reduces time required, reduces fatigue and burnout, makes sure the radiologist is happy.
Yeah, the productivity is going to be the big one, and how you're able to see the baseline versus when you deploy a solution, how much improvement in efficiency it can yield. And that can have two implications. One is more time for the radiologist to be able to do more reports, or at the same time do something else. And at Google, we used to have this concept of 20% time for self-directed activities, because of which a lot of these big innovative products like Gmail, Google News, they came out to be because people had time to be able to invest on innovation. You want to give that time back to the radiologist because this space is hungry for innovation. Unless you don't give them time to be able to have that expansive thinking, they will be bogged down into their clinical workflow. So whether you increase reports or you give them time for innovation, it's up to you, but productivity is important.
Yeah, I've seen Spark and FluteSpace in India growing quite since recently. What have been your biggest challenges in the market like India compared to the US?
Oh, we are out from that market. We are out from that market. For multiple reasons, we have to prioritize our resources. We can't be everywhere, and we have to be really focused. Especially, I'm in the US. My team, a significant part is in the US. It's a strategic market for us, so we will continue to dial up on this one. But what I've seen is the ROI for India or any other place. ROI is very important. If I'm giving a human, a typist, $1, for example, to type a report, and an AI solution is charging me, again, $1 or maybe less than that, is it real value? Maybe not. So wherever you have to see there is a real clinical value is where the AI needs to be put in. If you have a hammer, not every problem should look like a nail, to be honest. So that's what our perspective is.
Yeah, I think the ROI one is key. It definitely makes it fun and challenging to work in the Indian market, but I think that helps us push to be more innovative in the cost point that we're able to obtain with our solution to meet those needs. But the bigger challenge has been the need for personalization. I think just the nature of the Indian market and how custom reporting has to be per radiologist there to stand out in that market means that we need to be able to support a bigger breadth of types of preferences and different ways that the report can be done. But again, I think that helps set a really high bar that now with this type of solution, we can actually more strongly support other markets. So it's been a great place to start, I think.
Just a follow-up question on that. I'm sorry, mate. Were you done? Okay. Just a follow-up question. So, how do you see a more fragmented healthcare system as compared to a more integrated healthcare system to get into? And by fragmented, I mean, as you mentioned in India, the healthcare providers, they have multiple different healthcare, pockets and the customizations. Compared to that, does it really provide more value to integrate into a more sort of a closed loop integrated healthcare society in which the standardization of reports is there, the number of scans and everything is there?
Yeah. I don't know. It was interesting in having a conversation with some of the US customers that we're looking into, and I think the need for personalization is there everywhere, right? They might be a part of a larger healthcare system, but they still don't want to buy AI for AI's sake. It needs to be able to actually solve their problem from a reporting perspective and be them. So again, I think what's been unique about being able to enter the Indian market first is that we were able to see those challenges sooner and iterate through those problems faster. That now makes it a robust solution to kind of solve that more, more broadly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's really there are definitely countries that have much more uniform deployments, like the UK, where you just need NHS certification, and then each one has a snowball effect on the next NHS trust. But still, that given the nature of the country and the health system, it takes time to deploy, right? Whereas for other systems, like in the US, it maybe go faster. So it really just depends. Every country has its own quirks, kind of differences in how you deploy things, how you support, and how you make sure that you provide that customization, personalization.
Yeah, you would think that each market it's radiology, right? So how is it different in US versus India versus Australia or some other? Actually, there is a huge difference in how things happen. I'll give a simple example. In Australia, you're not supposed to say impression. You're supposed to say comment or conclusion, something like that. In order for you to pivot your product totally, to be able to understand the workflow of these individual geographies is very important. And on the other side, healthcare is used to being fragmented. That's what the beauty of healthcare is. There is no one solution. There are people out there which are providing significant number of solutions, but you have these point solutions which tends to plug in. And it has become so complex now that if you take one Lego block out of the equation, the whole thing starts to crumble. It doesn't make sense in terms of picture. So how do you continue to drive value in this fragmented environment is an important key. You cannot, and I don't think so in the near term, you can change the whole system to make it more unified. It's going to take a lot of effort for anyone. But in the current space, we have to live with this. Two-edged sword.
Absolutely. No, that's really amazing. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now let's switch to the business side. What are the challenges that you guys are facing in this particular space in the market? Yeah.
So, from business point of view, as a FluteSpace, as a business, see, the fact is that ChatGPT has done one amazing thing for all of us. It has made easier for people to create prototypes, to give a valid proof of concept that this is working or this could work. But Gen AI as a technology, it takes huge effort to able to take from proof of concept to a production environment. So what we see is that, okay, there is a lot of proof of concept out there in the market, but when the rubber hits the road, which one actually delivers the clinical value? I think that is where the challenge is, to be able to convince the radiologists and the administrators.
Yeah, and I think the more you deploy with different customers across the country who previously went to PowerScribe or Fluency, they have had 15 plus years to build out a lot of tiny individual features that are specific to their practice or health system, right? So you have to make sure that you provide all of those things that they are used to doing, right? That their existing customized workflows, that they work just as well, and that you can add new features to it, but also support everything that they've previously been doing. So it can get relatively complicated How do you make sure that you have a really fast response cycle when you're adding new features, when you're adding bug fixes, when you're providing customer support? And so that's the key thing for us.
I think we've also seen that ultimately this is a change, right? There's currently a way of doing reporting that people are used to, and this is a new way of doing it, even though it aims to be as integrated and as out of the box, the same as possible. There is still some changes. So the adoption curve is somewhat a challenge that I think we're facing. What we've been able to do to approach that is actually spend more one-on-one time and actually through that understand their workflow more and help bring that in to be able to do the optimizations for it more robustly. So again, we understand that no one really wants to change. We know we need to help us go faster and to simplify, radiology reporting, but it's always a balance in terms of how that's done.
That was a very good question because business aspect of it is really very challenging. I mean, it's new. I mean, how do we integrate? Who will pay? How much is the true value of it? So that was a good question. Some parting thoughts on as you have seen so many reporting standards being followed across the globe. Do you foresee that in the near future, say 10 years down the lane, there will be a symposium for a structured reporting that needs to be standardized across all the hospitals for the ease of patient consumption? Or do you see that, or do you still think that the reporting will remain different?
That would be really nice, but I don't think so. Again, whether it be because they want to use a difference to stand out, or again, more complex cases maybe need a little bit more due diligence and are going to be reported on based on the radiologist who's looking at that particular case. We just need to be better at supporting more of those different types of preferences versus aiming for a standardization that will most likely be very difficult to attain.
Yeah, working with so many thousands of radiologists, you find that every radiologist has their own distinct workflow, their own distinct language, their own distinct way of speaking. And you have to support it all, right? It's part of what we call the art of radiology, right? To be able to provide exactly what the radiologist would normally want to say, the kinds of language, the differentials, the ordering, everything is based on what that radiologist would want. So.
100% agree on that. I think structured reporting, I think people had to adjust, or standardized reporting, people had to adjust because the new systems which you out there see, PS, Fluency, they are word-to-word dictation. So people had to fill those forms and follow that structure. But if you really ask a radiologist, what do you want to really communicate from your report? They will say that I want to deliver a narrative which will help my referring physician take the right action. And I think we will move away from the structured reporting or standardized reporting and more attune to the likes of the referring physician and also a narrative-based reporting, which is going to help people take the right decisions. Structure, think about the fact if it's a cancer. There's a cancer in the liver extending into different parts of spleen and pancreas. You have to paint that story for the referring physician. If you put that into a different structure by section, it doesn't help anyone.
Right. Thank you so much, guys, for your final thoughts. It was a really interesting session to know about the reporting challenges and the parameters for success and how important it is for the radiologists. If we don't have any other questions, perfect.
Yeah, this one's for Jeff. So you said that you're expanding into the UK, and I just heard that UK now requires AI reporting solutions to be grade 1 medical device certified. How far has AI LLMs come that they are able to be certified with that, like with the hallucinations and everything?
Yeah, we're not in the UK yet. So the goal is probably over the next year and a half. So it'll still be a while for us to go into the UK. UK involves a number of different steps, right? So you needed certification for NHS, and you need medical device or a clearance. And then ideally you want to sponsor among one of the NHS trusts. So it's a multi-step process. So generative AI has started getting cleared by the FDA as well, for instance. So it really just comes down to the clearance processes of each individual country or the EU overall. But it takes time. It takes a lot of validation points. You have to have data from either the country in question or the region in question to be able to do those validation studies. So it is a pretty long process. Yeah. So it has not been a primary focus for us yet. We're primarily focused in the US.
Awesome. Any other questions from anyone else? All right, then. I think we are good. Thank you so much, guys, for joining for this very enthralling session on reporting. We have all learned a lot today. And do check out our booth. Do come for our other panels, discussions this day and for the next 3 days as well. And we'll be around. So see you soon.